Welcome back. The IMF is set to decide on South Africa's request for a $4.2 billion loan to support the country's response to the COVID-19 pandemic. This comes as the Special Investigating Unit is probing allegations of looting from some of the funds set aside for COVID-19 efforts so far, announced in April. Let's speak then with economist Duma Gqubule about the IMF issue in particular. He joins us from Johannesburg by Skype. Duma, very good afternoon to you. Thank you so much for your time as always. You believe that the IMF loan is a bad idea. Why?
Yes, I think it's a really sad day for South Africa because it's the start of a slippery slope where we're going to trade in our national sovereignty for this loan. And I think it's the government is trying to prepare the public for a second, much larger loan that might involve a full-blown structural adjustment program. Now, the IMF has got a disastrous track record over 4 decades in terms of providing financing to developing countries. Over the past 4 decades, every single emerging market crisis, from Mexico in 1982 to Russia in 1998, to Asia in 1997, to Greece in 2012, has been because of exposure to these foreign currency loans, which is called the original sin in financial circles, and also these IMF structural adjustment programs. I just have to mention one thing, that this loan will not be used to fix any hospital in the Eastern Cape or anywhere in the country. It's going to disappear in a very short time. It's not going to benefit our economy in any way. It's only 10% of the budget deficit this year. But I think that it's not about the money, it's about the political reasons for the government to do this. Yeah.
Well, proponents of the IMF's COVID-19 specific relief have said that, look, the conditions attached to that sort of assistance aren't perhaps as stringent or as damaging for countries as the traditional IMF requirements for financial assistance. Why aren't you sold on that argument?
No, because it's a structural adjustment light. I've talked to them, and what they say, we will still have to write a letter that says that we will implement structural reforms, we'll implement austerity, which the government has already committed to, and these measures are going to damage our economy badly. And I predict with this structural reform, we're going to enter into 3 years of a long depression, of 3 years of declining GDP. You must remember, Tembegile, we've had 5 consecutive years of declining GDP per capita, and it's actually a bad situation that we're in, and the government is now going to plunge us because of these commitments that they're going to make to the IMF for another 3 years of declining GDP.
Very briefly, Duma, if not the IMF loan, where should we be getting money, because we do need this money? Okay,
we've got one of the deepest capital markets amongst developing countries in the world. We've got a stock exchange at the end of last year was worth 17 trillion rands, a bond market of 3 trillion rands. We've got huge capital markets, and the government can easily raise this on domestic finance. The government can raise this from the PIC. The government can raise this from the central bank. The government can raise this. There's many. Let me give you an example.
Very briefly. I'm being shouted at that we need to wrap up.
There's a surplus of 100 billion rands at the moment. Why can't the government use that surplus of 100 billion rands instead of taking this loan for 70 billion rands? Yeah.
Duma Gqubule, always good to speak to you, even when you get me into trouble with the team. That was economist Duma Gqubule speaking to us as we count down to that IMF announcement on whether they will indeed grant South Africa that $4.2 billion that is being requested.